TPP. TPP has been continuously in news for 2 years now, so we will be discussing following aspects related to it.
What is TPP? It is a trade pact among 12 Pacific Rim nations, the US, Japan, Malaysia, Vietnam, Singapore, Brunei, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, Mexico, Chile, and Peru, signed up in February 2016 under President Barack Obama's regime. It aimed to deepen economic ties between the nations, slashing tariffs and fostering trade to boost growth and eventually to create a new single market, something like that of European Union. When did it start? It began with the P4 trade agreement between just 4 nations, Brunei, Chile, New Zealand and Singapore, on the sidelines of APEC, that is Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation, meeting in 2005. In 2008, US began talks with these countries on trade liberalization, which eventually set the stage for the TPP. And finally, it was signed in February 2016 at Auckland. How big is it? Pretty big. The 12 countries involved have a collective population of about 800 million, almost double that of European Union's single market. The 12-nation would-be bloc is already responsible for 40% of world trade. Which goods and services are involved in it? Most goods and services traded between the countries are named in it, but not all tariffs were going to be removed, and some would take longer than others. In all, some 18,000 tariffs were included. Goods ranging from automobiles, farm products, poultry items, dairy, wine, rice, seafood to textiles exports, all are covered, and liberalized free trade in services too. What were the consequences of India not joining it? Number 1. Trade diversion. It eroded the demand for Indian products in traditional markets like US and European Union. Number 2. Vietnam was expected to gain at India's expense in the garment business in the US market. Number 3. It could have impacted our yarn and fabric exports to countries like Vietnam, as a yarn forward provision required clothing to be made from yarn and fabric manufactured in one of the TPP partner countries to qualify for duty-free treatment. Number 4. Likelihood of a rules architecture which would have placed greater burden of compliance on our manufacturing and service standards for access to the markets of participating countries. Number 5. Many goods and services where India possesses competitive advantage might have been shunted due to differences on IP norms, that is intellectual property norms. Current scenario: TPP after Trump. He has labeled it as the worst deal ever, a job killer, because number 1, it would have intensified competition between countries' labor forces. Number 2, there were possibilities of job moving out of US to countries with lower wages and less strict labor laws. Number 3, the deal was accused of favoring big business groups. Number 4, TPP would have paved the way for companies to sue governments that change policy on, say, health and education to favor state-provided services. He finally withdrew from TPP by signing an executive order on his first day in White House. Without US, does it definitely fall? To take effect, the deal would have had to be ratified by February 2018 by at least 6 countries that account for 85% of group's economic output. And since USA accounts for 60% of the combined GDP of the group, those conditions cannot be met without US participation. Some countries like New Zealand have suggested some sort of alternative deal may be possible without the US. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has said a TPP without the US and its market of 250 million consumers would be meaningless. Now, possible outcomes for India. India, the unintended beneficiary of Trump's move. How? Number one, now focus has shifted to RCEP, that is Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, and WTO trade deals, eventually benefiting India. Number two, earlier there were pressures on India from common market countries like Japan between TPP and RCEP trade deals to make later more ambitious in intellectual property rights and investments, which India was opposed to. Now such pressures would subside and RCEP members will be more accommodative towards India's demand for greater market access and services. Number 3. No more trade diversions at the moment. There is breathing space for India. This is time to focus on what is required. We should take the initiatives of improving ease of doing business to another level. What's in for China? Number 1. TPP was an important initiative under President Obama's Asia Pivot strategy, and now TPP most likely not going to be implemented leaves China more space to flex its muscles in the region. Number 2. China is on higher reliability pedestal. The trade deal Mr. Trump is quitting is the same one to which Mr. Obama signed up and spent years urging allies to do the same. Beijing will now encourage regional Asian governments to compare the reliability of Chinese pledges with American ones. Number 3. Chance for China to re-energize its ambitious trade deals like RCEP and FTAAP, that is Free Trade Area of Asia Pacific, and these trade moves come within the context of China's One Belt One Road initiative to expand its investment, trade and strategic influence throughout Asia.